Hey family, this is Minister Archange Antoine, and I'm so thankful that I could be before you today in 2026. Welcome to a place to connect with God, a community that is open to all people, where we center the gospel of Jesus Christ, African spirituality, and the importance of us being interconnected as a faith community. Today, we are going to have a conversation about the importance of being faith literate. So bear with me as we go through this tough conversation about the importance of us being cognizant of each other's faith traditions. Today, we're going to be talking about the Abrahamic traditions, but more specifically, Christianity. Today's message is faith literacy as a tool of liberation. This is part of a multi-series of why people of faith must become literate in other faith traditions as a tool of liberation. People in power have always used religion to control, to dominate, to justify violence, to erase communities, and maintain empire. Faith literacy helps us recognize that manipulation, defend each other from propaganda, and use knowledge for resistance, protection, and defense each other from propaganda, and to justify and support our freedom. We cannot allow sacred texts to be twisted into a cover for evil, harm against the innocent, divide and conquer politics, or mass murder in the name of God. And far too long, we see so many people in power, whether they're kings and they're presidents or they're dictators or they're just oligarchs, that they're using our sacred texts in order to do harm. I am not asking any of you to convert to another religion. I'm not asking you to convert to another spiritual practice. I'm asking you today to learn from each other, to learn about each other's history, teachings, and in that faith tradition, what is that commitment to justice and care for humanity? And truth be told, that most of us don't know where justice and care for humanity is found in each other's traditions. We might know one thing, but what does it look like for us to go a little further? This is not, again, not about changing your faith or converting each other. It's about refusing to be ignorant and not allowing lies about other traditions to be used to justify hatred, violence, or domination. Today, I'm asking very specifically to all my Christian brothers and sisters and siblings to use the gospel as both offense and defense as we fight back against those who continue to pervert the teachings of Jesus Christ. They rely heavily on you being ignorant and not knowing. They pull you from verse to verse with no context while skipping what Jesus actually taught. And let's remember, Jesus directly confronted the abuse of power and warned us against those who were corrupt. And we've seen that right here in America. There's a long history of enslavers, people who practiced slavery in America, who enslaved African people, who were pulling texts from all over the scriptures to justify their actions. And I'm not even talking about the scriptures that they removed. I'm saying they methodically went through the Christian scriptures and said, what are scriptures that we can use to justify our actions? And in terms of corruption that Jesus preached against and stood up against, I want to be clear. There is nothing wrong with power. We need power to survive. We need power to help each other. But what Jesus stood up against was people who use that power to hurt others and to harm others. And our ethics is we don't want to do anything to harm innocent people. Jesus challenged the wealthy from protecting their own comfort while others suffered. Jesus rejected empire. I'm going to be clear about that. Jesus rejected empire, refused political domination, and exposed violence disguised as righteousness. I'm not asking you to become a biblical scholar. I'm asking you to be grounded, proficient, and disciplined in the teachings of Christ so you can call out the lies in real time. If someone uses Christianity to justify oppression, greed, racism, war, like this invasion that we're seeing in Venezuela, or cruelty, you should be able to say with clarity, that is not Jesus, that is not the Spirit of Christ, and neither is that a Christian practice. To my Muslim sisters and brothers and siblings, I'm not asking you to convert to Christianity, nor am I asking you to become a Christian scholar. I'm asking you to learn the fundamentals of the gospel as a tool to defense. Knowing what Jesus actually taught exposed the Roman Empire and is exposing the American empire right now. Christian nationalism, Christian Zionism, Christian imperialism lie to promote Islamophobia and hatred towards Muslims. However, Jesus taught us love, dignity, solidarity with those who were different, marginalized, and targeted. When his name is used to justify hatred against you, the gospel itself is the evidence against them. And I need us to be a little more committed to learning about each other. To my Jewish brothers and sisters and siblings, you and who are in the struggle for freedom, liberation, and solidarity with the Palestinian people, being aware of the gospel also matters. Not so that you convert to Christianity, but so you can recognize Christianity is being weaponized against you too. Groups like the Ku Klux Klan, the Aryan Nation, even the Proud Boys use Christian language wrapped around their hatred for Jewish people. And some of these evangelicals, Christian evangelicals that we see prouding around right now, are infatuated with the state of Israel and American empire because they believe in your mass conversion or death is so connected to their end times. And this is why I call this relationship between these evangelicals and these Zionists as some of the most inhumane relationships that we got going on the face of earth. Both of them are relying on each other, even though they both see each other as less than. Knowing the teachings of Jesus exposes that manipulation for what it is. Empire theology disguised as faith. We have this problem not just in America, but around the country, around the nation, around this region. We have people who are wrapped empire language in faith. And that is some of the most dangerous things that we have going on. With all that being said, there is a solution. And today I want to talk to you about 3 important points. These are what I call the fundamentals to Christianity. Now, we might hear all these other fundamentals, but these are fundamental points that I want to bring. Number 1, the Messiah. Jesus was the Messiah. And again, I want to be very clear. I am not asking you to believe that Jesus is the Messiah. I'm asking you to understand that Christians believe that Jesus is the Messiah. The Messiah did not come to rule through domination, military power, political control. He rejected empire's violence and exposed systems built on exploitation. The Messiah stands with the oppressed, confronts the powerful, and offers a vision of freedom rooted in justice, love, and truth. Any version of Jesus that blesses war, greed, racism, or occupation is a false Christ. According to Luke, verse 4 to 18, Jesus said, "The Spirit is upon me because he has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the captives and recovery of the sight for the blind, and to set the oppressed free." What is oppressive in that language? What is dehumanizing in that language? What is anti-Semitic in that language? What is Islamic phobic in that language? What is anti-immigrant, anti-black, anti-queer, anti-anything in this language? And we have people who are calling themselves Christians, who are saying they believe in Jesus, who are doing all types of hateful stuff, but saying that Jesus is the Messiah. The second point I want you to understand is what Christians call the least of these. Jesus makes it clear how we treat the poor, the hungry, the imprisoned, the sick, the undocumented, and those pushed to the margins is also how we treat God. However we treat these people is a reflection of how we're treating God. Matthew 25:35 to 36 says, "I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me." And in Matthew 25, verse 40 says, "When you did it to the least of these, you were doing it to me." Where did we get this wrong? We have Christians out here in government, in politics, in corporations, in multinational organizations, in NGOs, who are justifying the harsh treatment of poor people, who are stripping people who are hungry of the essential foods to eat, who are telling people who they are in prison that they're less than human beings. People who are sick, they're making them more sick. People who are undocumented, we're telling them that they're infiltrators. They're invaders. Where in this language does it tell us to treat the least of these like animals? And the last point is the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is not a future escape plan. It's not an empire on earth. It is a present reality that challenges the unjust systems, confronts violence, redistributes dignity, and restores community. Whenever people are liberated, cared for, treated as full human, the kingdom is breaking in. Any Christian that protects empire instead of challenging and rejecting it cannot say that they understand the kingdom of God and that Jesus preaching the kingdom of God lines up with their own belief. According to Matthew 6, verse 10, it says, when Jesus taught us to pray, he didn't point us away from the world. He taught us to say, bring your kingdom here. Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And this is a message to those super spiritual Christians who everything for them is when we leave this earth. This kingdom is while we're here, while we're present, while we're on earth today. And God's will is not abstract or distant. God's will is restoration, healing, freedom from oppression, and life rooted in liberation. And what that means is God is going to do these things through his servants, through the vessels, through people who've committed themselves to living a life being connected to God. We always hear that people say, when is God going to do it? The question is, what is God telling you to do? What is God telling me to do? We all have a responsibility to do our part on this earth. And too many of us are waiting on God when God gets his glory when we step up, when we open our mouths, when we step up to the plate, when we step out in our bodies. It says, you fed me. That's your hands. That's your feet. That's your resources. When you visited me, when you stepped in a car, when you stepped in a bus, when you stepped on a train, when you took action. What we're seeing happening all around the world, we need to be active. And we need to know each other's traditions that speak to that. America is not a Christian nation. There's no such thing as a Christian nation. What is happening in Palestine, Sudan, Congo, Venezuela, and all over this world by this American empire has nothing to do with Christianity. We have a bunch of people who are just lying about their Christian beliefs because they know that they can manipulate you. That they know that your guards go down when they use faith language to justify killing people, occupying, colonizing, exploiting, taking advantage of. And the purpose of this message is that we as a community need to be more proficient in each other's traditions to avoid these exploiters from tearing us apart and taking advantage of our holy text to justify madness. Family, I want to thank you for being with me today. I want to thank you for standing with me. I want to thank you for joining us today. Please be on the lookout for more information, and know that I love you from the bottom of my heart, and may God bless us. Peace.